Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a new Line 6 Helix and HX Stomp tutorial for you, and this is how to create a Fender Vibroverb type of preset. Now there is no Vibroverb in the Helix universe right now, hopefully later on, but it's a really cool amp. Now what I did was I used my Fractal XFX3 Vibroverb amp model, and I use that for dialing this in on the Helix. Now I use some workarounds, and I'm going to show you how to dial that in right now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in my XFX3 and play that so you can kind of hear how similar they are. So let's go ahead and dive into HX Edit right now. So right now we're on what I call the clean-ish setting. Now the Vibroverb, it's a clean amp, obviously, and what's really special about this amp is that it has a 15-inch speaker in it. Now they only made these for, I think it was like a year and a half, something like that, 63 and 64. 64 is the holy grail year. That is what Stevie Ray Vaughan was using in the early 80s. So here is the amp settings. This is the US double verb or double Vib vibrato channel. Drive set here, bass brought it down a little bit so it didn't get flubby. Mids up, treble up a little bit, presence, I think I left it kind of alone, brought the channel all the way up. Master was all the way up already, and I made sure to turn the sag up just a little bit so you could get that kind of Fendery, like chewiness, squishiness to it. And then I think I ended up bringing the bias up just a tiny bit as well. Something about the 64 that's really kind of special is even the low end is still kind of held intact, and it's kind of one of those things with this amp, like if you really push it, you get some clean qualities in the distortion, if that makes any sense. That's kind of what people say about SRV's earlier tones, like even his clean stuff had some breakup to it, but you can still hear the cleans, if that makes any sense. So the cab we're using, it's a 1x15 Ampeg. Now, this is the best we could do. We don't have a 1x15 guitar cab. So what I used was the 57 dynamic and positioned it like right almost on the edge. Kept the distance the same. Did a little bit of low cut and a little bit of high cut. And then let's turn this guy off. We don't really need it. That is included in the preset if you want it. It's the dynamic room, just to kind of give it some room ambience. And then the hot springs, that is your main reverb. And fun fact, the Vibroverb was the first Fender amp to have onboard spring reverb. So here are the settings for that. Go ahead and make sure trails are on. Here's kind of the clean-ish setting. Now let's go to the fourth position too. So it still has a lot of that stringy characteristic that Fender would have. Let's do this. We're going to go to the Klon setting here. You don't really need to worry about this EQ that I have here. If you want to use it, you can. It really just gives you a little extra in the lows, brings up the mids a little bit. It's not much, so I'm just leaving it off. But here are the settings for the Minotaur. These are basically John Mayer settings. Now that's kind of what I'm going for this one. I'll show you another one that's more SRV inspired, but these are basically John Mayer type of settings. Okay, moving on to the Scream 808. I had to bring up the level quite a bit just to get it to really push, but here's what it sounds like. And then let's go ahead and stack them. Okay, so still pretty SRV type of sounding, but let's go ahead and do this. I'm gonna switch over to another preset. This is Vibroverb SRV. Obviously, whoops, Stevie Ray Vaughan inspired. So you're gonna see a difference in the amp settings here. We're trying to push the amp a lot more. Basically same bass settings, brought up the treble quite a bit. Sag, brought it down just to tighten it up a little bit more, brought the bias up quite a bit as well. Pretty much same settings for the cab. Let's do this. We're gonna engage the dynamic room to give it more of that kind of, I don't know, vintage vibe, if you will. But here are the settings for that. Just a really, really short type of. Okay, so that's the room. Now let's bring it down here. Everything's really pretty close to stock settings here. And then we're going for a little bit washier mix, I believe, for the verb. So here it is. This is the main. So it's really got that punchiness in the lows. And let's bring it to this guy. This is like a treble booster. And here are the settings for that. So if you're into guys like Philip Sace, this is really helpful to use, and you can dial back the volume knob a little bit. And let's move on to the Scream 808. Right here, we're going gain set low, level all the way up, a little bit of tone, and this is kind of like a pride and joy type of thing. pickup. And then let's go ahead and I call this loud because it's really loud in these headphones, both the TS and the treble booster together. All right, so what I'm gonna do right now is I'm going to go back to this original one and I'm going to do some comparisons with the Helix and with the Axe 3, and I'll just play some basic chords for you so you can get a sense of how close it is. We'll just go straight amp tone, no drives or anything, and I hope that you dig this. At the end of the video, just let me know what you think about it. This is obviously a tutorial, so it's free, so go ahead and go through the whole video and see what you think of it. But if you don't want to dial it in yourself, please go to my website, johnconcheroguitar.com, and you can get this for your Helix. Both of the presets will be in there as one item, so you get both of them, and it is HX Stomp compatible and Helix compatible. So I'm going to go ahead and play some tones for you, and we'll kind of go back and forth with the Axe 3.